Welcome to this tutorial on how to use Google Forms to create a survey. Now this is specifically designed for a class of students who do not have access to a tool like SurveyMonkey. If you're an APU person, you should always consult institutional research and get their assistance in creating your surveys. Again, this is specifically for a class here at APU. First thing we're going to do is we go into our Google Docs, Google Drive, and we can come here to the New button. I'm using the new layout of Google Drive, so it may look a little different than what you're used to, but you should still have the New or Create button over on the left-hand side, and I click on that, and I'm going down to Google Forms. Google just recently made major changes to Google Forms to give you a lot more freedom with the theme and the layout a little bit, but it still has the same basic functionality as before. And now you see the basic form layout. Up here we have the title that we can give to our form. It's a good idea to give a title. And I'll hit OK. And then you have your menu bar. And you'll notice that with Google Forms, like all Google Docs, the changes are saved automatically. Your undo and redo, a place to edit questions. We'll talk about the theme at the end, and then also this is the button that you can use to view your responses, and also here to view the live form. So first thing we have here are the form settings. If this is a survey that you want to restrict to the APU community, you would check this box. And if you check this box, then you could also check the box to automatically collect respondents' APU username. If this is a survey intended for a broader audience than just APU, you want to turn this off. And it will give you a warning, and you can just hit OK. You notice here that this was automatically turned off. That is because you cannot collect usernames on just generic Gmail accounts or someone outside of our APU domain. Show progress bar at the bottom of the form page. This is helpful if it's going to be a long survey. That just gives the participant the opportunity to see how far they are in your survey. So again, you could come here, change the title if you wanted to do something different than the file name, and you also have a place where you could enter the description of the survey. So now you're ready to begin. There's several different types of questions you can ask and use. So we'll first start with a text. So here maybe you can type in the question or this, the information that you want. Help text on this situation. So now on this type, we don't want to use multiple choice, so we can come here and select text. Under advanced settings, you could do data validation. Make sure text contains, does not contain. If you're collecting email addresses, which probably for a survey you wouldn't be, but you could also type in, select email address, and if their answer does not follow the format of an email address, it will give them an error message. Likewise with URL, that's a web address. If you wanted to know what website, you could use this to collect that information and then be able to know for sure that they're giving you a web address. In this situation, don't want to do a data validation, so I'll uncheck that. Required question. If there are certain questions you have to have an answer for, you can make them required by just checking this box. And then I hit done, and I'm ready to go to the next option. So I'll hit add item. Paragraph text if you want them to give you a little more explanation. Multiple choice. Check boxes. Probably for your survey purposes, you may not want to use checkboxes. And I'll have one in this survey so you can see how the checkboxes come out in the results. Choose from a list, scale, grid, probably for your survey, date and time are not going to play into that, but you also have the option to let the participant enter a selected date or a time. So we'll go ahead, we're going to add an item, and I'm going to do multiple choice. So multiple choice, come down here, and you'll notice you've got the option here to add other. So I can click the add other, and that's going to give them another option and allow them to enter a different answer if that's applicable for your survey. Hit done, and then I'll go ahead and add another item, check boxes. So I put in select your favorite flavor of ice cream, choose up to 3. And then again, you could also add the other. And hit done. One that is potentially very helpful, we'll use the scale. And you can see here 1 not comfortable, 5 very comfortable. Grid would work in a very similar way as scale, but with grid you can have different levels. You have the rows and the columns. So let's use the question. So then I've got my columns here, novice, average, expert. And then I can hit done on that. And you can see how, here's our scale. Here is how our grid would look for the different items here. You could also, let's go ahead and add a date. And with date, and here you can have the option include year or not include year. So we don't need the year that they were born, just their birth date. So when I uncheck that, year disappears from here. And let's go ahead and say done. Now let's take a look at what our survey looks like right now. So I'm going to go click here on view live form. And I can see here, let's go ahead and fill it out just to see. Oklahoma, other, and I like chocolate and caramel, and we'll say vanilla. I would say I'm very comfortable, and I can come here, click the down arrow, pick March, and then come down and pick the year. And here's my submit button. You'll notice the disclaimer here about never submitting passwords through Google Forms. That is the default that is there automatically from Google. So I hit submit, and I get that my response was recorded, and I could submit another response. So let's go back here to the test survey and look down here at the confirmation page. This is what they're going to see once they hit submit. So you can change that. You can also uncheck this to show the link to submit another response. You can decide whether or not you want to allow them to edit their responses after submitting, and whether or not you want them to be able to view the form results. And I'll go ahead and check that so you can see what that looks like. And once again, I'm going to go to view form, and we'll pick a different state, and we'll say that this time I'm a junior, and strawberry, caramel, and cookie dough. And hit May, and then when I hit submit, and here I see a link, see previous responses. So when I click on that link, this is what it's going to show me. It's going to show the states. It's going to show the other answers, and you'll see that caramel has gotten 2 answers, and you see the different things. And this will look more impressive as you get more responses. But that's what you are allowing the participant to see if you choose that option. So let me go ahead and close that tab as well as these two and go back to our responses. So I'm going to turn that off. Now when I come to this button here, I see up the top actually first in the menu bar I see responses, and I see that there have been 2 responses. And when I click on this, I can stop accepting responses by clicking on this. And when I do this, then this form has been turned off. So if you have a deadline and you don't want people to do the survey after a specific time, you can turn off the survey. And I'll click on it again, and now it's turned back on. And then I could come down here and delete all the responses. Before I do that, I'm going to hit this View Response option, and that's going to take me to a Google spreadsheet. And this is what the Google spreadsheet looks like. You see the class year, and you'll notice here with the check boxes, what Google does with the checkbox items is it puts all of the answers in a single column. That's why I figure for a survey, you're not going to want to do checkboxes because all of the answers go into a single column. And then you can see here, how comfortable you are, and then the different questions up here in the formula bar. You can see, Gmail, and you can see the different ones, and you see their answers as individuals. So that will help you know what to look at. You'll see the timestamp of when they submitted their form, and likewise the answers. Now, because at one point I did have the checkbox turned on for accepting the user information, it did leave that column. Now, if I come in and I delete this column, you'll get this error message that you cannot delete a column from the form data. Consider hiding it. You do not want to try to rearrange these columns once you've gotten to this point. There is a workaround, and if you want to reorder things, you can shoot an email over to training@apu.edu, and I can give you the steps on the workaround. Now, the last thing I want to look at is the theme. The theme is just, you'll notice when you click Live Form here, it's kind of boring. So I can add a theme to it by coming here, and there are different form templates or themes, and I'm not overly impressed with any of them, but we will pick something simple. We'll do sample form, and there's a button down here to customize. So I could click customize, and then I could change things like the color, the font that they use for the help text. If I wanted to, for question, I wanted to change the font to something like that, you'll notice it happens instantly, so you can see the changes. Form background, I could change the color more to the APU red, or actually looks very pink here, but you can control some of the page background now. You can't change the color, but you could change the image. You could remove the image, which there does not appear to actually really be an image there. So these are just some options. This is a new feature that Google has just given to us to use. Hopefully you have found this tutorial helpful. Again, the link you want to send to people is this one here. And the safest way is when you're in your survey, close all these extra windows, when you're in the survey, go to Live Form and select this link. And I just clicked up here, and then I can do a right mouse button click and say copy. And then in my email, I can come to my email, and what I like to do is type something like, so I say click here to view the survey. I highlight it. I come down to the bar at the bottom, and there's the chain link for inserting a link. I click on that, and then I can come here, right mouse button click, and say paste. Okay, so then your person taking your survey doesn't see that long, confusing URL that we have here. They simply see, click here to view the survey, and then you would send it out to the people taking your survey. Again, hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at training@apu.edu.